Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, my friends. Welcome to Northern Nightmares' 10th episode and Christmas special. I'm your host, Andrew, and today I have a very festive story for you. Now, we know Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, but I'm not going to deep dive into that story. We are going to explore how Christmas came about and the origins of Santa Claus. Old Saint Nick is based on the real Saint Nicholas, a Greek bishop of Myra, known now as the country Turkey. St. Nicholas was alive roughly around the time of 270 AD to 343 AD during the 4th century. He was known for having a legendary generosity on stories that claim that he gave 3 daughters gold so they wouldn't become prostitutes. He also secretly gave children that were poor or sick gifts. He passed away on December 6, 343 AD, and this would be known as St. Nicholas Day. A little fact, AD is the calendar that was created sometime after the birth of Jesus Christ. Jesus' birth is thought to be between 6 BC and 4 BC, BC meaning before Christ. The BC calendar was recorded to count down when we got to B1 BC and was changed to AD. And the years went up in numbers. For example, today would be 2025 AD. AD meaning Anno Domini in Latin, which translates to the year of our Lord. Over the centuries, many have celebrated St. Nicholas Day, with many regions having different variations of the holiday, but keeping to the core tradition of gift giving. This day would eventually evolve with blending ancient winter solstice celebrations, Christian theology, and cultural traditions to what we know today as Christmas. Santa Claus comes from different interpretations of St. Nicholas. The Dutch called him Sinterklaas. The English, he's known as Father Christmas. And in Norse mythology, the god Odin was known to deliver gifts to children, listening down chimneys for the good kids and riding on an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. All the tales would eventually grow into Santa Claus, especially in America. It's thought the red suit comes from the 1822 poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." In the 19th century, Thomas Nast, a political cartoonist, created the iconic image of Santa Claus, and then later in 1931, Coca-Cola cemented the image of Santa with their famous advertisements to what we know as of today. With a little backstory on Santa, I figured it would help introduce our special guest of today's episode. In many regions, Santa has been known to have companions, some to help him with the gift giving. In Central Eastern Europe, there is one companion that helps with the naughty kids. Sometime in the 17th century, St. Nicholas delivered gifts to the good kids. For the naughty kids, they were visited by something darker. Let me introduce you to Krampus. Krampus has had many different forms throughout the centuries, but the most notable one is him as a anthropomorphic figure. Anthropomorphic entails that a figure has attributions of a human form and non-human traits. Most commonly, it is a human creature with animal features. Krampus looks like a human, but with demonic goat characteristics, having one human and one goat foot. His fur is usually black, with long protruding horns and having a long snake-like tongue. Krampus also has chains hanging from him, sometimes a pair each on his arms and another around his neck with bells attached as well. He also carries a bundle of birch twigs or a horsehair whip and having a sack or basket on his back. Every region, usually in Europe, has their own variation of Krampus, where all these characteristics are seen. The folklore of Krampus is that he visits the naughty children, sometimes giving them coal, but mostly whipping them as punishment. For the truly evil children, it is said that he stuffs them in a sack, drags them to his lair, sometimes to be eaten, sometimes drowning them, or dragging them to hell to burn for an eternity. The severe punishments are different from region to region. Krampus's origins come from a deep-rooted history from pre-Christian Germanic folklore. This folklore is linked with rituals from pagan winter solstice celebrations. The winter solstice is celebrated as Yule. It marks the longest night and the shortest day of the year. It symbolizes the rebirth of the pagan sun god and the return of the longest days and of the light. In scientific terms, it's when the earth is tilted farthest from the sun, signifying the start of winter in the northern hemisphere on December 21st and the southern hemisphere on June 21st. Krampus also has Norse mythology roots as well. Some theories suggest that Krampus is the son of Hel, spelt with one L. Hel is one of the 9 realms in which the King Odin of Asgard, also known as the Allfather, the ruler of these realms. Hel is the realm of the dead, and Hel is also the name of the goddess that rules this domain. These realms could also be considered planets, as one realm we all know is called Midgard, which is Earth. The goddess of Hel is Loki's daughter, and Thor, god of thunder, would make Krampus his great-nephew. Krampus would be Odin's companion in this story. As I mentioned earlier, Odin delivers the gifts to children. The Norse mythology comes from the Scandinavian people. Today, this is the countries of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. Due to these pagan roots, Krampus is often labeled a servant of the devil by the Christian Church. The idea of the chains he wears signifies his tie to Lucifer, and the sound of rattling chains warned the children of his arrival. If we jump now to 1932, Krampus was outlawed by the newly elected Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss of the Fatherland Front Party in Austria. It was enforced by his Austro-fascist regime, and it created a Catholic independent corporate state which was against socialism and Nazism. This promoted a strong Catholic identity and sharing all traditions of the Christian values. Krampus, being seen as demonic, went against their ideology. Krampus celebrations were linked to social democrats and thought to demoralize the population. Dollfuss was assassinated in 1934 by the Austrian Nazis, thus ending his regime. This enforcement of Krampus continued by the Nazis until we kicked their asses on May 8, 1945. The Christian Social Party tried to keep Krampus down by passing out pamphlets stating it would corrupt the children's mental health. This lasted until 1950, and then near the end of the century, Krampus made a major comeback. Let's begin now by talking about the Krampus festival that has been growing in popularity over the years. On December 5th, the day before St. Nicholas Day, Krampusnacht is celebrated. Krampusnacht is the original German word. In English, it means Krampus Night, where a parade is held involving all sorts of costume-clad people. People dressed as Krampus parade down the streets with whips and torches. Some beat drums and other various instruments. The donned costumes include demonic masks, Viking helmets, wielding their whips, chains, and other weapons. Some of the marchers do acrobatic performances, like flips and cartwheels. Some of these costumes could be skinny or even huge furry suits depending on the groups in the parade. You're sure to see and hear many whips cracking in the air and towards spectators, especially the children. This is often felt like a live-action horror show, but it's enjoyed by many. Some of the marchers can even chase children and try to whip them in the butt, but I can assure you it's all harmless antics to make the parade more interactive. It's been even seen that Krampus marchers have let little children whip them in the butt to remove any fear that they're having at the parade. Flames are also expelled into the air to make things more frightening, leaving the air smelling of smoke. Krampus is never alone though. Like our parades with Santa, St. Nicholas attends as well. Both characters are seen as two sides of a coin, one side for the light and the other dark. One represents kindness and the other fear. However, locals don't see this as a horror show, but a winter tradition. Some even say this event helps prevent bad luck, but brings people together to enjoy the holidays. This could also be seen as a message for kids to not act up, or Krampus will come for you. This festival is celebrated throughout Europe and even now has been seen in regions of America. I've seen myself on videos of it being celebrated in Milwaukee this year. However, such an event often has people that feel hateful towards it. One such event in 2013 in East Tyrol, Austria, 8 people were hospitalized with broken bone injuries, and 60 others were treated as outpatients. One 62-year-old spectator in Kutschot, Austria, grabbed a 20-year-old marcher by the horns and tried to rip his mask off, resulting in the marcher being rushed to the hospital. It's always been debated with safety concerns for both marchers and spectators, as alcohol and other substances are present. Some people just want to ruin it for others and can't seem to let us have a good time. I would think these people from the church still see this as devil worshipping. I myself would attend this festival as it's right up my alley. As you know, I love all things scary. Another tradition around Krampus is called Krampuskarten. This involves sending greeting cards featuring Krampus humorously punishing children or even courting women. These cards have been popular since the 19th century and continue today, and also contain verses about good behavior. With Krampus growing in popularity, he's also made his way into various North American media, from movies, books, and even music. There are several horror movies usually found on Amazon Prime, Netflix, Shudder, and even Tubi. The most common one is Krampus, a horror comedy made by Universal Pictures in 2015, with actors Adam Scott, Toni Collette, and even David Koechner. This one received decent reviews. Rotten Tomatoes rated it 66% based on 130 reviews. I quote from their website, "Krampus is a gory good fun for fans of no traditional holiday horror with a fondness for B-rated movies." IMDb also rated it 6.1 out of 10. Some of the other movies that have been named are called Krampus the Reckoning, Krampus Unleashed, and even a wacky one called Mother Krampus. I myself just finished a horror book called Krampus, the Yule Lord by author Brom. The premise was Krampus and Santa were mortal enemies out to murder each other. It involved a lot of Norse mythology I've mentioned, and it didn't hold back on the gore. I've enjoyed every second of it and gave it 5 stars, but I usually do that for every book I love. This book is well received with ratings like 4.5 out of 5. I would highly recommend it if you're into Christmas horror stories. As for music, Krampus usually shows up in the metal genre. From what I can tell you, a lot of the bands are from Europe. usually from German or Austrian origins. Mind you, there's not a lot of songs, but they tend to show up for a band that is doing an album with metal versions of famous Christmas songs. You may have heard some of those metal tracks for the teases I made promoting this episode. And that is all I have for you, my friends, in the lore of Krampus. Hopefully, you've learned some new traditions to share with your family and friends. Remember to teach the children to be on their best behavior, or else Krampus will be coming down their chimneys instead. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and enjoys the holidays. If you celebrate the winter solstice, Yule, or any other holiday, I wish you the best all the same. I will be off for the next 2 weeks enjoying it myself. I do not have any teases right now for the next episode, but I promise to have 10 more episodes planned for the new year and the rest of this season. I will be writing though on my downtime. I have some really terrifying stories planned. I think you will enjoy what's coming. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays everyone, and I will see you soon. Sweet dreams, and remember, nightmares are closer than you think.